With the release of Elite Dangerous on consoles and the upcoming Horizons expansion, as well as the previous Do I Spaceship video, most of you are probably wondering, how do I spaceship outfitting? Finding a home station is critical, and with the exception of pirates, typically you will have a single star system that you can call home, and a station in that system specifically where you roost between missions, or as a meeting place for your wing. Don't be afraid to do your homework. As with learning and planning anything, you need to have knowledge before you can move on. Take the time to gather up data on which stations, what kind of ships and gear and facilities and what, so you can be better aware of where you can go get what you will need. Explore the nearby star systems and make note of everything you may want or need from the stations there. This will save you time in the future as you begin to outfit new ships and upgrade your current ones. Now, given that there is no current in-game method of saving systems and station information, buying a Sidewinder can be a way of marking a station you want to remember for one reason or another. Or manual note, Word or Google document, pen and paper, however you want to do it, can be an easy reference to ensure that you can find things in the future. And seeing as that a Sidewinder is about 32,000 credits, it's not too much of a money sink in the early game. As for outfitting weapons, there are three different types of damage: thermic, kinetic, and explosive. Thermic is a bit more efficient in removing shields, but can still do substantial damage to the armor or hull of a ship. Lasers and energy weapons would be thermic. Kinetic are projectile-based weapons like cannons and multi-cannons, and specialize in doing damage to the armor or hull of a ship, though are still capable of handling shields. And explosive, things like missiles and torpedoes and mines. Pretty well general use, high damage, but easy to stop with the right countermeasures. There are also three different weapon modes, which would be fixed or forward firing with no tracking and increased damage, gimbaled or forward firing with minimal tracking and base or standard damage, and lastly turreted. This doesn't mean it screams random vulgarity, however it may cause your target to, given that it can fire at any target in view of where it is mounted, though it does reduce damage. The integrity of a module is how much abuse it can withstand before it fails, and unlike the prostitutes I have locked in my attic, most of these modules can take a beating and keep giving you what you want. There is mass, or how much the module weighs, and should be, unlike my relationship with my ex-wife, be taken into account before it is attached, as it can stop you from being happy, or enabling your frameshift drive. Power draw is how much of your power generator and module will use, and in the case of some of the high output weapons, you will need to ensure that using any module does not completely drop your shields and disable your life support, because there's nothing like being in a relationship where the woman takes everything from you and leaves you tired and broke. Floating dead stick in space makes you an easy target. The rating of a module is its overall rating as compared to other devices of the same type, A being, by the standards of the game, the best, and G, based on what I've seen, being the worst. The class is the size of the module, 4 being huge, which I like to believe is the size of my member, and 1 being small, which is the actual size of my member. Scanners are how you acquire information about the universe around you and turn into the best space creeper out there. There are both utility mount and internal mount scanners. Utility mount scanners include cargo scanners for seeing what is inside somebody's ship, kill warrant scanners which allow you to see if there is a bounty on your target with another system or faction, and frameshift wake scanners which allow you to scan and follow somebody's frameshift wake to their destination, such as their home from a seedy bar on the wrong side of town. Internal modules includes things like a fuel scoop for collecting fuel for most stars, limpet control systems which require ammunition, such as hatch breakers to force somebody's cargo bay open in the space equivalent of robbing somebody blind, fuel transfer limpets for your poor friend who was too stupid and got himself stranded in space from running out of fuel, prospector limpets for doing the dirty deed of mining, which is for loners and emo kids, and collector limpets, which will go out and collect cargo, or things you have mined because you're too lazy or can't be bothered to go get it yourself, like me. Discovery scanners are how you get a general overview of a system you have entered, such as how many astronomical objects there are, and a surface scanner is how you acquire detailed information about an object in space you're out exploring in a system that's 2 hours away instead of playing with your friends, and when you make the trip back they decide they're going to go to bed instead of making your 2-hour trip worth it. I'm rambling again, aren't I? Alright, back on point. Other internal modules include fuel tanks to make sure you don't get stranded in space like a scrub, a standard docking computer for auto-docking with an outpost or station, a refinery to process materials you have collected during mining, a frameshift drive interdictor is how you pull people out of supercruise so you can invite them to your birthday party, or kill them and steal their wallets. Hull reinforcement is as it sounds and will increase the armor of whatever ship you're in. Shield generators do much the same and can be further increased by outfitting an external shield booster. All internal modules are rated and classed the same as weapons, and different stations with different economies will have different equipment. I personally prefer high-tech economies for outfitting because I'm not a caveman and I enjoy air conditioning. At the top of your internal outfitting is where your armor is and can be replaced with different types of armor. I personally prefer military grade for its overall protection against both thermic and kinetic, but you can do what you want. I'm not your mother and I can't tell you how to live your life. Power plants determine how much overall energy you have, are currently using, and can use at maximum before you start affecting other systems aboard your ship. Much like your mother, sucking up the energy from everybody and everything around her because she's large enough to have her own gravitational pull, like a super condensed white star or gigantic planet. What I'm saying is your mom's a fat bitch. Thrusters are used to determine how much mass your ship can move and or carry with its modules. Frameshift drive determines the amount of fuel you use per jump, how much mass you can jump with, and how far you can jump. Life support modules will change how long you can survive if the canopy of your ship is cracked open, essentially how much oxygen is in your helmet. Power distribution determines how much power goes to what module and the effect of putting more power into one thing over another, such as systems, engines, weapons. Sensors are used to set the range of the radar in your cockpit. If you're confused about what that is, have a look at the first How Do I Spaceship and stop asking stupid questions while I'm trying to answer questions you haven't asked yet. Your fuel tank sets how much fuel you have, and more fuel tanks can be added into empty slots, or in the space of an internal module you've left because you don't love it anymore and are busy sleeping with another module while I'm at the fucking station trying to figure out whose material you're processing. Space whore. Shield generator determines the integrity of your shield and can be added to by equipping a shield booster on a utility hardpoint. Beyond scanners, utility hardpoints are important because you have the ability to attach a heat sink launcher to reduce heat while you're in silent running, point defense that will automatically fire missiles, torpedoes and mines, chaff launchers that will break target lock, gimbaled and turreted weapons, and countermeasures to handle seeker missiles and torpedoes. Know your roles, Scrub Lord. Knowing how you plan to play or what you plan to do in ED, which there's a pill for, should be the first step in determining how you should outfit your ship. You want to be a pirate, plunder all the booty, maybe a damn dirty miner, or an explorer, escort, bounty hunter, smuggler. You're not going to see a strictly combat-centric role capable of hauling tons of cargo. Doesn't make sense, and honestly waste the precious commodity of module space. After you've decided on the roles you want to play in ED, which there's still a pill for, the next thing you need to do is look over the ship options and choose the ship that you will be using as you progress through the game. Look at the ship class, as well as the costs, hardpoints, internals, and other performance factors like maneuverability, speed shields, armor, whatever. You won't need every ship in the game. Pick a midpoint ship and an end goal ship. This will be the most efficient. Once you choose your pathway, begin to think about what type of equipment you'll need, not only to suit your role, but to optimize your ship. For example, there are a lot of haulers that just completely go without shields or use a low-class shield in favor of having more cargo space. This isn't going to be recommended for a combat ship because if you go to the wrong side of Compton, you're going to get popped pretty easily, so don't do that. Once you've spent enough time gathering intel and planning, it's time to implement your design. Gather your credits and head into outfitting. You won't likely be able to optimally fit your ship right away unless you somehow manage to store a metric crap ton of credits, but you need to prioritize your modules. Combat ships will be more reliant on thrusters than cargo space, whereas haulers will not need to move as quickly outside of jump distance and will need to focus more on frameshift drive and cargo space. Be flexible. Your ship designs may not always work out as you had hoped. You might be over on power consumption. You may have overlooked an internal slot. You may have forgotten a key component, like a fuel scoop if you're doing an exploration rig. Don't try to force yourself into a build, because it can be the difference between living long and dying quick. Sometimes it's advantageous to subfit or use a lower class item with a higher rating, as there can be less expensive and give slightly better results. Also, some stations won't have all the ratings in every class of item you carry or they carry. Use your judgment. Example, a class 2A rating shield versus a class 3D rating shield. Just a thought. Last thing to note is that when flying in a wing, you want to modify your loadout to maximize your wing's efficiency. If you are part of a bounty hunting wing, you won't need every member of the wing to have a kill warrant scanner. Spread out the duties and make sure everybody knows who is responsible for what. This also gives more flexibility to builds. If you have one member in a fast but flimsy fighter loaded out with heavy lasers, they can sweep in and focus on removing shields while you gear your ship up with cannons, frag cannons, multi-cannons to be dedicated to hull and module damage. If you're in a mining wing, you will likely have one or two escort ships. These ships could gear down slightly in comparison to bounty hunting ships to allow for more cargo space, or limpet modules to aid the mining vessels. Again, you want to be flexible. Remember that selling or exchanging modules will net you the same as the original sale cost of the item. You can try on an item without fear of losing credits if it doesn't fit your build or work to your satisfaction. Always remember that since the game is changing, your plan should be kept fluid. Ships can be tweaked, new things may be added. Also, when in doubt, check a wiki page. There are a bunch of online resources like the previous How Do I Spaceship video and the next one coming out to give you more information that you might otherwise not be able to come across alone, or that would just take far too long to test and research solo. My name is Jack Wolf. Stay tuned next week for the follow-up and final episode of How Do I Spaceship, which consists of professions and power play. Cheers.